Hello, welcome to my first episode of What If I Was in the My Hero Academia universe. We start off with me in a room typing out a new part of my What If series when I see a message pop up on my computer with a small, glitching entity waving towards me, telling me to click it. I ignore it and continue typing out my What If, when an error message pops up saying, "You shouldn't be ignoring me. I can crash your computer if I wanted to and delete all of this." I figured I would look at the figure confused, but also a bit disappointed, and typed, "If I were to talk, would you be able to hear me?" The figure looked at me, then my mic, then nodded. "Alright then, then why should I believe you? I mean, you seem like a virus that just randomly popped up on my compute." I get interrupted by the figure glitching and selecting my speakers. Then in a slightly glitchy voice, "Wouldn't go there if I were you." I jokingly said, "Ah, so you don't only speak in error messages." He looked at me with a slightly disappointed face, then face palms. "Oh," I say, "so you don't like my joking attitude?" You know what?" the glitch bleeps out in a frustrated tone. "I was going to send you nicely into the My Hero Academia universe, but I guess I will just toss you in there right now." He snapped his finger, causing a black and teal portal to open in front of me, which had a powerful gravitational pull. I shout, "What the hell?" as I fall into the portal, going through a black tunnel until I see a bright light on the other side. I would blink a few times before shutting my eyes and opening them again, in which everything I saw in normal colors was instead covered with a pinkish magenta hue. I looked down at my phone and then saw code flying out of the phone. What the? I thought. I tried speaking many times, but all I heard was a weird, distorted voice. I looked around, seeing all sorts of peoples walking around the street. I looked at the buildings, which I assumed one of them was a store. I wasn't really sure, it was all written in Japanese. I then looked around, and then saw more code flying out of others' pockets and phones. I assumed that the code from their pockets was from their phones that weren't in their hands at the time. I then hear a crash and looked towards the sound and saw the giant villain from MHA's first episode. I got up and walked over to the area. When I noticed a large crowd surrounding the area. I saw a kid scribbling something in his notebook and decided to take a look, and saw all sorts of things about heroes, such as their quirks and things like that. Even very accurate drawings of the heroes on the pages. I tried speaking again, causing several people to look at me, including the boy. Damn, I guess I can't talk. That's not going to be good, since I need to be able to talk if I want to have a conversation. Wait, I can use pen and paper. I reach into my pockets and pull out a sheet of paper and pen, and then I write what I was wanting to ask. Wait, am I writing in Japanese? Whatever. Anyways, I write down, "Are you able to see fine, or would you like a lift to see better? After all, this is a crowd of rather tall people." I then hand the paper to him. Oh, no, I would like it if you did that. I can't see very well. Thank you." I would nod and pick him up and him on my shoulders. He then begins to look up in awe, then goes back to scribbling furiously in his book. Eventually, the battle is taken care of when Mount Lady arrives and kicks the giant in the face. I walk away, forgetting that I have Izuku on my shoulders. I get reminded by him saying, "Okay, so can you put me down now?" I stop, then put him back on the ground and write, "Sorry about that. I forgot that I had you on my shoulders. Are you supposed to be that light? How old are you? Then hand it to him. Oh, it's okay. Also, not really. My bully is always taking my food because I'm quirkless. I write down on the paper, well, that's not really nice. Say, kid, would you like me to stay with you at school, just to make sure it doesn't happen again? Then I hand it to him. He looks up to me, eyes shining gloriously, then says, you would actually do that for me, even though I'm quirkless? I smiled warmly at him, then nodded. Sure, I would heavily appreciate that, he introduced himself. Oh, by the way, my name is Izuku Midoriya, I'm 15. What's your name? I then acknowledge the fact that I never introduced myself. I then take the paper and write, my name's Jin King. I'm also 15. And then hand it to him. Wow, he exclaims, so you're my age and already that tall? I nod. He then asks me to come to his home, to follow him to his house, and then prepares to introduce me to his mom. Mom, I'm home. Welcome home, dear. How was school? Inko replies. It was good, Mom. Also, I got someone for you to meet. He's my age. Alrighty, dear, Inko says, coming out of the kitchen. Now, where are they? She walks out, then notices me, and looks shocked, saying, are you sure that he's your age, Izuku? He seems way too tall to be your age. I would look at her confused, and then look at Izuku, and Izuku nods, and then says to his mom, yes, I am very sure. In fact, he told me in his own way. What do you mean? Well, he can't exactly speak, I think, so he has to write down on paper with a pen what he wants to say. Oh, that doesn't sound fun. I wonder how you managed to get through your schooling life with that. I would look down, and then I would try speaking again, and I speak in the distorted voice again. Inka would look at me in shock, and then look at Izuku, and then they both would nod, and then they would both proceed to hug me. Inko looks in my eyes, which causes me to begin freaking out. Izuku and Inko would look at each other confused and then look at me confused, as I would proceed to release what we all commonly know as the Enderman's screech. Inko and Izuku were shocked to hear the sound, and then would proceed to try to calm me down. During my freak-out session, I actually proceeded to use a ability that I didn't know that I had, which caused me to jump through a phone that was on Inko and become part of the code. Inko and Izuku would look around, trying to find out where I went. I then I tried to get their attention, causing Inko's phone to vibrate. Inko would pull out her phone and then notice me on the screen. She tries to talk to me, but I couldn't hear her. I then try speaking, but this time, instead of it being in a distorted voice, I actually am able to talk correctly. So I would ask, but why am I in here? Why? How do I get out? I would say, slamming on the screen, supposedly, which would cause the phone to vibrate more. Suddenly, after saying, how do I get out, I would suddenly teleport back out of the phone. We would all look at each other shocked and confused. them making sure to not look at my eyes this time. I then would proceed to touch the phone and then begin to speak. For me, well, for my body, I would still be speaking distorted, but the phone would be speaking what I was actually trying to say in my voice. I guess I can become one with the phone, I guess? Or maybe technology? Whatever. Anyways. So, the real reason that Izuku and me are here, other than to introduce you to me, is because I was wondering if I would be able to stay with your son during school in order to make sure that he doesn't get hurt. Inka would look at me, and then would look at Izuku, then look back at me and nod, saying, yeah, I would really like that if you did. He always comes home injured, and so I would rather have it where that stops. Alright then, I will then proceed to find a place to go, because I don't really have anywhere to be right now. Oh, well, you could stay here with us. I mean, it's not like we would mind, especially since you're going to be protecting Izuku at school. It's the least we could do. Izuku would nod. I would kind of be hesitant, but then agree after a bit. So, we skip over to when Izuku and me are walking to Izuku's school. I, of course, would be holding a phone, well, my phone, with my finger on the port where earbuds or stuff like that would go, saying, so, this is it, huh? My first day protecting you from bullies. Izuku would nod, then smile and say happily, yeah, but that means that you'll be able to keep me safe from harm, and maybe even get the bullies to back off. I would nod, and then I would put the phone back in my pocket. As we would approach the entrance of the school, I would eventually go up to where the principal is. I would then pull out my phone again and put my finger in the plug again, saying to her, saying to the principal, is it okay if I am here with Izuku until he graduates from now on? The principal would look at me confused due to the fact that I both spoke in normal voice from the phone, but distorted voice from my body. They would look at me and then hesitantly say, yeah, sure. I will go get you a permanent visitor card. Or at least a visitor card that lasts to the end of the school year. I would nod, and then I would put my phone back. Eventually, and the principal would say to me, okay, wait here while I go get it. He would leave, and I would sit there for at least a minute or two, and then I would be given the card. I would proceed to enter the classroom that Izuku's in, seeing Bakugo about to try and blow him up with a tiny explosion. I would teleport in front of Bakugo, being hit by the explosion. He would look at me in shock, as would Izuku and everybody else in the class. Gabriel, you dumbass. Sorry about that. My little brother was having issues with his headphones. Anyway, back to the story. After everybody was shocked for a little while, I would look up at Bakugo, and then would begin to speak angrily in a distorted voice. Bakugo would proceed to back away, and then would proceed to say, "Izuku, who the hell is this?" And then Izuku would look at me, and then would walk up to me, hug me, and say thank you. I would look at Bakugo, then I would look back at Izuku, and then I would sit between Bakugo and Izuku. Well, I would sit beside Izuku. Due to my total height, I was actually still taller than Izuku. So, with that, none of the students ever tried to bully Izuku until at some point I had to go because I was called to the principal's office, in which Izuku was bullied by a few more of the bullies, until eventually I actually got back and saw this happening. I would teleport in front of the bullies and Izuku, and I would proceed to pick up each and every one of the bullies one by one and lift them off the ground. With that, the students would all look at me with fear, excluding Izuku, as I would then let go of the students that I was let go of the bullies that I was picking up, and drop them to the floor, which causes them to not actually want to mess with Izuku anymore because I was there. With that, Bakugo and his goons fearfully went near Izuku until I would walk near Izuku, sit next to him, and do a low distorted growl. With that, Bakugo looked at me with fear, and Bakugo would look at me with fear, and then just quickly and speedily say what he was trying to say, in which I would very quickly catch on to that, and then I would look at Bakugo with fury, and then he would immediately run out the door, and his goons would have pissed their pants, and then also ran out the door. Izuku looked broken and dead inside because of what Bakugo said. It would replay through his mind again and again and again. Why don't you just go and take a swan dive off the roof and hope for a quirk in your next life? I'd look at Bakugo angrily, but Izuku would tell me not to worry about it, even though I could clearly see that I should be. with that, I would put Izuku on my shoulders and would proceed to carry him home through the tunnel that would normally be where Izuku got captured, would be getting suffocated by the sludge villain. So, with Izuku on my shoulders, the sludge villain would still come out of the thing. With that, I would notice the sludge villain immediately and try to teleport away, but I teleported, but forgot Izuku, so I teleported back, only to see him captured by the sludge villain. The sludge villain would be looking at him, then notice me and look me straight dead on in the eyes. This would severely trigger me, but also seeing Izuku getting suffocated, it set me off into a full-on rage. And I would proceed to grab Izuku out of the sludge villain, and then would proceed to pick up the sludge villain. The sludge villain would say, "Hey, how the hell are you picking me up? I'm supposed to be untouchable. What the hell?" When I would immediately then throw the sludge villain onto the wall. This is when All Might would appear out of the same hole that the sludge villain came out of, saying, "I am here to save the day." Izuku, coughing up a bit of the sludge that he was being suffocated by, would then look up and see All Might and say, "All Might, it's really you." Izuku would be completely speechless. He would then look towards me and the sludge villain, and then would say, "Villains beware, because I am here." He would then proceed to charge towards me and the sludge villain. He would hit me and the sludge villain, thinking that I was a villain. Izuku would immediately run over to me, and All Might would say, "Hey kid, get away from that villain." Izuku would look at All Might saying, "He's not a villain. He's actually my protector." All Might would look at Izuku in shock, and then would, after doing what he did to the sludge villain, would fall to his knees and begin mentally and both verbally saying to himself, "What have I done? What have I done? I shouldn't have done that. Damn it." And then would proceed to hit the ground. This time not using his strength, but instead just hitting the ground normally. With that, Izuku would try to get me to wake up again, but I was completely knocked out from the punch. A few minutes later, I finally woke up. Izuku and All Might were talking. All Might, of course, in his deflated form. All Might saw me waking up and thinks, "Crap, he's about to see me." And then, I would wake up. I would grab my phone, and I would stick my finger into it and say, "Hello there, All Might." All Might looks at me in shock, as well as Izuku, both of them thinking, How did you know it was him? How did you know it was me?" I would look at them both of which were dumbfounded. After a while of complete silence, I would just shrug my shoulders, and they would both look at each other confused and shocked. Anyways, Izuku, well, young Midori, I mean, please accept it. Please. I will, All Might. I would look at All Might, saying, "Ah, so you're finally giving him one for all?" And then I would realize what I said. Unplug my finger from the phone, and then cover my mouth. Izuku and All Might would both look at me completely shocked. Both of them would shout at me, "How do you know that? And what do you mean, finally?" I would immediately teleport on top of the bridge. Izuku would look at me, seeing me on top of the bridge. And then I would teleport on top of a building, in which he actually lost me. They would both look at each other, and then both say, "That was confusing. How the hell did he know those two things about us? First off, you being All Might, and one for all? How?" "I don't know, young Midoriya, but I will try to get to the bottom of this. Anyways, so you said that he was your guard, correct?" "Yes." "What does that have to do with anything?" "Well, maybe he might know everything about you. I mean, after all, how would he know that you were supposed to get one for all? How would he know about one for all? But what if he knows everything about our world? Like everything that happened in the future, and maybe even the past?" "Oh my, you're not saying, what if he isn't from around here, and that's why he knows all of this? Like, you mean, what if he wasn't from this world?" "Yes. For all we know, he could be an alien. But it doesn't seem like that since he knows English." Well, actually, he has to use a phone. I mean, not English, Japanese, sorry. Well, he has to use a phone to speak Japanese to us. Otherwise, it's just a distorted, weird voice." "Interesting. Well, it looks like I have to go. I will talk to you later, young Midoriya." "Bye, All Might," Izuku would say. I would then teleport back down to where Izuku was, and pick Izuku up. He would look behind him quickly in shock, and then notice that it was just me. He calms down a bit, still a bit shaken by the fact that I knew all that stuff, and by what All Might assumed, which was mostly true, besides the fact that I'm an alien, because that's not true. Now, if you're wondering why nobody knows anything about my appearance, since it is very much similar to an Enderman, it is simply because Minecraft doesn't exist in their universe. But I have a quirk to be. I have a quirk that makes me an Enderman, and a hacker quirk. I guess I should explain this now. So, my first quirk is called Enderman. I am an enderman and have all the features of an enderman, including their distorted voice. I can also teleport like an enderman. I can reach really far like an enderman. I'm tall like an enderman. And I have twice the endurance as any normal person. Now my second quirk, hacker, allows me to go into technology and also, on top of my capability to go into electronics, I can also control what goes on in them. And I don't have to worry about, like, say I'm hacked, I can hack the person who hacked me right back. And get my personal information back into my hands and out of his, and get his as well. Such as his location, his name, what he looks like, his age, whatever. But for now, I don't know how to get into technology. I can only do it if I'm in a distressed state, such as what happened back at Izuku's house, in which they looked at me and it caused me to freak out. Oh yeah, so that's another trait of the Enderman that I have. If I'm looked at, I will freak out. So yeah, Izuku and Inko know not to look at me in my eyes due to that fact. Anyways, so with that, Izuku and I would proceed to walk back to Izuku's house. Now, that's where I'm going to leave it off for now. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next part of this, or the next part of my What If Deku Had a Tree Quirk. Bye!